Mikey, when we hear those words, do you know what that means?
It means we're up and at 'em. We're live across the nation and around the world and to all planets within our solar system.
And please don't forget the ships at sea.
And the ships at sea. And the ships at sea.
Well, we don't want to forget the ships at sea.
You're playing Merle Haggard right now?
There's a little Merle Haggard running under the show there. It's Tulsa Time. Oh, no, actually, this is Don Williams. Excuse me. I know Merle Haggard did this song, but I think this is Don Williams, who, I don't know if you remember this.
Yes.
Who used to be the guy who would appear at the water slides in Manteca. Remember the water slides out when Northern California had one water slide? Was it yesterday and today? Did they play there every weekend? It was crazy, because every time I would drive out to go to Los Angeles because you would take 580 out, right? And you would go through Castro Valley and out through Livermore and Tracy and all of those towns out there, and you'd get to the water slide, to where the water slide is, where it was like where 580 met I-5, and there was always a big sign: next week, Don Williams. Next week, Don Williams. Unless I caught it every week that he was there. There's a lot of guys named Don Williams. He was the unsung member of the Young Rascals. Don Williams. Everybody remembers him. Was he the guy? Was he the guy that did "I Ain't Gonna Eat Out My Heart Anymore"? Yeah, he helped. He helped with it, but even then, he's not remembered. So you're playing Don Williams and Merle Haggard. I'm going to hit shuffle now on my 18,000 songs. And we'll see what song comes up. Yardbirds. Heart Full of Soul, baby. Can't go wrong with that one. Over under, sideways down. Well, there you go. You can't go wrong with that. And it's got a country kind of a tinge to it too. It's got a little hop to it, doesn't it? Yeah. Hey. You can see the fiddler up there on the stage at the Grand Ole Opry doing this while. Oh yeah, they're good. So there you go, Yardbirds and Don Williams. There's your eclectic morning for a manic Monday morning. Right. Your homework assignment is to listen to one song from each and report back here on Wednesday. And let's have a little and be discerning. This is not a report where we don't care. Don't say it's my favorite song. Say here's what I learned, and get into the meat and potatoes of it. Anyway, how was your weekend, Ben? Michael, my weekend was very good. I have to admit, I had Saturday. I driving a new Hyundai Santa Fe, an more off-road constructed version of it. So I took my daughter down to beautiful Ocean Shores, Washington. Oh yes. And we scurried along the beach because you can drive on the beach there. So we scurried along the beach, and it was pouring rain. So the ocean got deeper while you were there. The ocean actually rose up a little bit while we were there, but it was a great trip. And then yesterday, I just got out for a ride, had breakfast with a friend, and then came home, wrote a piece for Facebook that I posted, and then I saw that. Yeah, a lot of people did. Yeah, it's really gotten some. Michael, I talked about it on Drive Time. I actually did a lot of time on it on Drive Time on Saturday. It's really we there's certain points in our life that you look back on, certain things that you never forget in your life, where you were. Although it'd be hard to forget where I was when that happened, motorcycle accident. But there's certain things in your life that you remember, and they mark the time in your life. It's your chronology, your own personal chronology. And so many people keep those quiet. They keep them in. And I think that one of the great things, and we always talk about how bad Facebook is. Yes. But I think one of the great things, Michael, is that Facebook also gives you the opportunity to not only voice things, but leave leave some of your thoughts about your life, so that it almost leaves a record, if you will, of what you wanted to, and it allows you to get what you're feeling inside sometimes out. It is a barometer of emotions.
Well, I'm glad you got through that situation. By the way, what was your hospital?
Elmhurst General Hospital.
Never forget that, will you?
Oh no, because it was possibly the worst hospital in the city of New York. But when they come with the ambulance.
So did you say, I'm hurt, take me to the worst joint in town?
No, when they come with the ambulance, they don't ask you where.
No.
They just say, "Well, here we go."
And in your case, they didn't have to ask you why either.
That where or why was not a problem, and it was I remember I kept going in and out of consciousness. Luckily, I mean we talk about lucky things that have happened to me. I would just come from where I used to work, driving a tow truck. And I wasn't driving, I was only dispatching. And the call came over on the police radio in the place that I worked. So one of the guys came down and saw it was me, this guy, Marty, who was a great friend of mine at the time. This big guy, Marty Rosenberg, went on to be a state trooper. And luckily he was there and he got in the ambulance and rode with me.
Wow.
To the hospital. So I had somebody else came down, picked up my motorcycle and drove his truck up to the hospital. And luckily, so it calmed me a little bit, because I kept going in and out and I had all this blood on the back of my head.
Ouch.
And I was afraid to even really feel back there too much, because I thought it cracked my skull wide open. My brains were oozing out. And all it was this scar right here.
Huh.
This little scar.
But little cuts on your face bleed like hell.
Yeah. And it was just, it was gushing blood, man. I mean, it was just, my shirt was soaked. I had a pair of red pants on and they were soaked in blood.
Red pants so you could go faster, right?
Yeah. Red pants definitely make you go faster. And, it was a life-changing experience.
How old were you?
I was 16 years old.
16. Young and mean.
I bought the bike that morning. And
oh
yeah, I just bought it that morning. And I was dicking around with it, showing off to the girls. About 3 hours before, this is 16-year-old kids. This is what
you had a vision. You had a 16-year-old vision, yeah.
Instead of shooting guns off like 16-year-old kids do today, we would make each other that hung out on the corner crazy bets. Well, can you do this? Can you do that for a slice of pizza? Or a six-pack of beer. So I show up at the corner with the motorcycle, and it's, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 people hanging out. And I'm hanging out, and one guy says to me, "Oh, that's great. What are you gonna? Why don't you do something? Why don't you do something insane?" He says, "Just ride the thing in the supermarket." So I said, "Sure, why not?" I took the bike and I go to Fisher's Market, which was the supermarket on the down on the same block. I went in the front door, around the aisles, and came back out again.
Did you remember to get the milk and eggs?
I forgot the milk and eggs.
Damn.
But 16-year-old lunacy.
Yep.
And
it wasn't long after that you were on your way to St. Vincent's or wherever.
Elmhurst General.
Elmhurst General.
Yeah, I was on the way to Elmhurst General. Well, that was probably about 3:00 in the afternoon, 3:30, something like that, because school was already out. So we were hanging on the corner. And I think that day I had also gotten chased by the cops, if I'm not mistaken, because I didn't have a license plate on it. I didn't have any registration. I wasn't wearing a helmet. I was just driving the bike,
It's just Vinnie in the bike.
Yeah. Again, 16-year-old stupidity. And I gotten, the cops had seen me and they kind of laid up the block by the church, waiting for me to come up that block, because they, the cops know you. It's not like they don't know who you are or anything like that. I mean, you gotta be pretty stupid but yeah, here I go. I'm driving up the thing, and all of a sudden the cop pulls his car out and kind of edges it out into the street. And I say, "Oh shit." So I go, boom, and I go through the schoolyard, St. Joan of Arc schoolyard, behind the convent, back down the other street and out 35th Avenue.
That's Vinny for you, behind the convent. That's how so many of his stories start.
Well, let me tell you this, it wasn't behind the convent. It was the church steps that was the place, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But listen, I'm glad I made it. I'm glad that,
well, tell us about how did you actually do the accident?
Oh, okay. I was driving two-way street, one lane going in each direction. And there's this intersection where the street that runs alongside the Brooklyn Queens Expressway and 69th Street come together. So it's 69th Street, Booty Street, and 30th Avenue. And I'm coming from Astoria, which is west of Jackson Heights. It's right at the Jackson Heights Woodside line. It's where all these neighborhoods kind of come together. And so you got an overhead Brooklyn Queens Expressway, and you're coming under the underpass. And so it's about 7:12 or something like that. And I'm riding. You're gonna love this story. I'm riding with this girl, Donna, on the back of the bike. Motorcycles. What do women want to do? They want to get on the back and ride, right?
Donna. Oh boy.
Well, so do guys, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm coming up the street, and all of a sudden, this car's coming the other way, and I see the car, and all of a sudden, he just makes a left turn in front of me.
Woo.
To go into 69th Street. No signal, no nothing. Just makes a left turn. There was just nowhere to go. I tried to stop the bike, and
no way.
It didn't have enough to stop. So I went into we hit I luckily slowed the bike down with the rear brake. I was smart enough to hit the rear brake, not the front brake. And otherwise, then you go over the car.
Then you go ass over tea kettle.
Yeah, I knew enough to do the rear brake. And it was the day I learned the one lesson that people never learn while they're driving. Hitting the brake does not stop the world. It stops.
No.
But yeah. Everything else is still going on, even though you hit the brake. A lesson that should be number one in driving school. Anyway, boom, I go. And we hit it right at the front wheel. It was a 61, 62 Mercury. One of those big, good Mercuries. And I hit the car so hard that the ball joint broke.
Wow.
And so I went up into the wheel well of the car between the tire and the fender.
No.
And went up into it like this. At the same time, I went back like this. And I felt something happened to my head, and then I kind of blacked out. Then I didn't know what the hell happened after that.
You were lucky to get out of the wheel well alive.
Well, I guess I came back out, through through just the force of motion. I fell out of the wheel well. The car obviously stopped, because that was the thing. I remember the guy stopped when he was making the turn.
Oh.
So he saw me. He must have seen me and jammed on his brakes. If he would have kept going or hit the gas,
you might have missed him.
I would have went right by him. But instead he stopped, because I remember that was the thing. I saw the guy coming down the street. I was watching.
That's the weirdest thing about people that cause accidents. They pull into an intersection and see they've made a mistake, and instead of getting out of it, they stop.
Yeah, well, that's the theory. Again, I hit the brake and the world stops.
Yep.
So boom, we go down. I wake up and I feel the blood, and I'm like, oh man. And my first thing is I'm kind of looking for Donna.
Yeah, where's Donna?
What the hell happened to her? Oh my God, I hope I didn't kill somebody here. And then I tried to get up. I remember this. This is going to be a little gruesome for you people, but I tried to get up and I pushed my arms up. But when I was 16 years old, I was in pretty decent shape. I was working on a soda truck part-time, working part-time at a towing service. I was in I was in decent shape. So I get up and I look at my pant leg and I see my bone sticking out of my pant leg.
But it was your bone.
My bone.
Yeah. Ooh.
So I'm thinking this can't be good.
This is not a good sign.
So I just, somebody that was there told me just to lie down, that don't move, just lie down. We called an ambulance, we called the cops, and I asked them if they could call my father. And right about that time, the tow truck for the company I worked for, Perry's, came down the street. They flying down the street a million miles an hour because we used to chase accidents. And Marty gets out and sees it. He gets on the radio and he calls my father because he knows, where my father is, and calls for a couple other tow trucks to come down and help out. And the cops are now there. And so they load me into the ambulance. They tow the car, Marty takes my bicycle, takes it to my father's gas station, actually, at the time. And we go to the hospital. And one of the funny things is the ambulance route to get to the hospital goes up 82nd Street, which is the corner we used to hang out on.
Does it go behind the convent?
No, it passes the convent.
Okay.
It passes the school. Going down 83rd, it passes the convent. They're one-way streets. So when we get to 82nd Street and 37th Avenue, the corner that everybody hangs on, it's June 5th. It's a beautiful summer night, man. It was a perfect day. I mean, I remember the weather all day. I was in a t-shirt and red pants. Marty sees my brother hanging out on the corner. He says, "Hey, Vinnie's in this ambulance." And my brother and about 65 people from the corner that are hanging out. Elmhurst is just 2 blocks away.
So they all take off.
So everybody comes up to the emergency room now. So now my father's there. My brother's there. My mother's not there. I hadn't told my mother yet. And it's pandemonium. And I'm waking up and I see my father and I see the cops, one of the cops from the accident, standing next to my father, writing me out tickets. No registration, no license, no helmet, no insurance.
No brains.
No brains. Yeah, exactly. No freaking brains. And then the scariest thing is I was hurt bad.
Yeah.
And my father said, "Well, listen, you ask the doctor. His doctors, we don't know what the hell, internal injuries and everything." And, you never just go, it's not like you see on TV where they just rush you right in. They put you on a stretcher and you sit out in the hall, unless you're having a heart attack or something like that.
Right.
But there were a few minutes, I mean, time's a little sketchy, but I remember a priest coming and giving me the last rites.
No.
Yeah. And saying prayers over me and that kind of stuff. And then did
he have a snappy delivery, or was it morose?
I think it was a little morose, actually.
Yeah, that's too bad.
He wasn't doing it. "Hey, Jesus, let this man into heaven." So next thing a week later, I woke up I was both my arms, all my fingers, my collarbone, my right leg, which to this day is still doesn't allow me to walk that well. I still have the scar, and I had to have 4 sets of pins put in so that it would stabilize, because the bone was broken in fractured in 5 places between my ankle and my knee.
That's a lot of broken bones.
It's a lot of broken bone. And thank God that these guys and women at Elmhurst General, the one thing Elmhurst General Hospital did well at the time was orthopedics.
You got yourself someone who knew what they were doing.
Got somebody who knew what they were doing, man, and they reduced that, they call it a reduction. They reduced it, they got it straight, they got it as good as it was going to get, and got me out of it, got me well again. I mean, it took 32 weeks till I got my cast off.
Wow. I mean, you were in the cast for arms and your leg were on for 32
Oh,
weeks.
no. The leg cast. The arm cast came off. This arm cast came off quick. I think it might have been 4 weeks. This one was a little longer. This might have been 6. And the only reason I remember that it was probably 6 is because I had it when they took the pins out. They don't give you any kind of painkiller, anesthetic, Novocaine, nothing.
Why not?
I don't know. But I asked them and they wouldn't do it. I said, no, we can't do that for this. So they hooked a hand drill up to the pin and they crank it out.
Wow.
So you want to feel pain, you know?
And plus that goes through the entire arm, right?
Oh, no, this is the leg.
The leg? Jesus.
I still got the cast on. So the first 3 pins come out okay. I mean, I was screaming in pain, but it was horrible. It's just, anyway, the last one comes out, the one behind my heel, and for whatever reason, it had a little bit of a bend to it. And it came out in a corkscrew more than it came out straight.
That's worse.
And it hurt so bad, and it was such intense pain that there was one of the guys that was holding me. I got such a shot of adrenaline that I pushed my hand up and with the cast hit the guy in the nose. And
cost of doing business.
Nose.
Cost of doing business. Yeah. You can tell him you can put a pin through it and I'll help take it out when your nose is healed.
Maybe next time you'll give me like a Valium or something like that. Maybe next time you'll do, well, hopefully there will be a next time.
But hopefully not.
But it was just, as I wrote in the piece, it was just an experience that changed my life. I mean, I got a lesson at 16 years old that life was precious, that it could be taken away from you in a second, never mind a minute. That it probably, I know it saved my life later on. Just thinking about again, how to take. I mean, it's not that you don't take any risks, but you learn to take better risks. You learn to assess. When you're a kid, you don't assess the odds.
No. And think of all the nonsense you did that day, doing crazy things and riding in the supermarket. And then it turns out that you didn't cause the accident. You were the victim of it just by being on the road that day.
It taught you a lesson that you don't have to be doing something stupid. You could be just doing something, and again, I will always say that that I had no helmet and I shouldn't have been driving the bike there probably.
Right.
One of the funniest moments of me being in the hospital, I was across from this, I don't know, probably 70-year-old black man, Mr. Gardner from Corona. He lived down a block from Louis Armstrong. And Mr. Gardner and I hit it off. Mr. Gardner was an old black guy who had seen a lot. And I always think that in so many ways, he is responsible for me not buying into the prejudice and the racism. Because when you spend 6 weeks next to somebody and you talk to them and you see their family and their family brings you food and your family brings them food and there's that whole relationship going on, you find out that they're just like you.
What was Mr. Gardner in for?
Motorcycle accident.
No.
Yep.
God, the whole floor was dedicated to motorcycle accidents.
Well, it was the orthopedic one. There was 3 or 4 guys there that had motorcycle accidents. And then on the other side of me, because it was a 6-bedroom, I had a prisoner from Rikers Island who had, I don't know, gotten something broken. And he was next to me on one side, handcuffed to the bed. And he'd always be like, hey, can you tell can you call your girlfriend or can you call your, and tell him to come, tell him to bring me, bring me something. Yeah, all right.
How was Donna, by the way?
Excuse me?
How was Donna?
Donna. This may be the best part of the story, Michael. So Donna winds up getting water on the knee and a bruise. Now, Donna was, how could we say this? Amply endowed.
Okay, she was healthy.
She was healthy. She was a good, strong Italian girl. And when my head went back, it hit her chest.
Wow.
And she had like a welt on her chest.
That's the kind of effect you've always had on women.
And I am one of the few guys, Michael Knight, that can say that my life was saved by a pair of bosoms, by a bosom. If her chest had, and a cop even said this to me, if her chest hadn't been there, your head had been scrambled eggs.
On the surface of 38th Street.
30th Avenue, on the asphalt.
Avenue.
She went under me, and I protected her from going up into the car. She bounced off my body instead of hitting the asphalt, which was great. I felt good, about that. But my head whipped back and hit her chest at a force large enough to leave a mark.
Wow.
And I don't think I haven't seen her in years and years and years. I really actually.
She remembers you.
Oh yeah, no, I think she remembers me as well as I remember her. Boy, did I like her though, man. I was, the minute before that accident, I was riding freaking high, man. I had this girl that I liked on the back of the bike, and it's a so hot summer night. You just, you're 16 years old, and summer's coming, and you got a motorcycle, and you're just saying to yourself, man, I got the world by the balls. And 1 second later, the world has got me by the leg.
So what was it like the first time you walked down the street with your new legs and your new arms?
It was interesting. It was, I had it's funny. I always think about this. I don't remember having to learn how to walk again.
Well, you were 16.
I had to learn how to use crutches. And that was tough. And then I had this cast on that was the size of a car transmission. Whew. And so that was huge. And so it was hard for me to do a lot of walking. But when I got the cast off, I definitely didn't have to power. I remember this. I played baseball at the time in high school. And Mr. Bayless was our coach. And I just could never get enough power back in my leg to do it, to play again at that level,
It takes a lot of time and recurrent trips to the gym to work on your physical therapy.
Yeah.
It takes so long to recover from those things, longer than most people expect.
Right. And in those days, there wasn't a lot of physical therapy.
Right.
It's like a 16-year-old kid push you out the door. By the time I got it off, I was 17. My kind of, crazy dream of, being a baseball player had kind of passed at that point. And, but, eventually the next summer, I did a lot of stuff, man. I went to, I think I set the record at Elmhurst General Hospital for having to have your cast taken off and recast. Because I would jump into water. I'd say, all right, I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to, but then I would jump in we go to, we have this place called Green Lake in upstate New York. And we go up there, we take, we load like 25 people into a rented van and we drive up there. And what do you call it? We would, go swim in the lake and I would jump in with the cast on. It was so hot. And
that was that.
Yeah.
Time for a recast.
And they revoked my license for a year, my driver's license. So I had to go back and take all the tests all over again. The funny thing, though, was driving with the cast on. Because I used to, every once in a while I would drive, so I had to put the cast over the transmission hump.
Yeah.
Drive with my left foot. So I got proficient at doing that as well.
God, the stories, Vinny, incredible.
Man, it was. Don't ride without a helmet. And I said this on Saturday show, and I'll say it to the millions of people listening around the world. This is the time of year to watch for motorcycles. Summertime, especially up here. A lot of people are pulling their bikes out of the garage. A lot of people are, out on the road. We saw them, down in Ocean Shores this weekend. A bunch of motorcycles in the rain. They're out there. If you're on your phone, if you take your mind off the road for a second and one of them is in front of you, or your car drifts over into another lane or something like that, you can kill somebody easily.
Yeah.
Please pay attention to motorcyclists out there. Pay attention to people that pay attention to everybody always, but really pay attention to motorcyclists, because it's just very different for a motorcycle and a car.
In fact, if you talk to somebody who's got a bike and he's had bikes all his life, it's pretty hard to find someone who hasn't put it down sooner or later or somewhere.
Yeah.
Voluntarily or because of someone else's negligence. It's pretty hard to find someone who hasn't had some form of an accident.
Yeah. I mean, it's really as many nurses that I've known in my life and doctors that I've known in my life have told me, especially in orthopedic work, that they would never, after seeing what they see, the damage that they see come in, they would never get on a motorcycle.
And you don't have to hit anything. You can just lose control and damage it all yourself, and you'll be just as messed up.
Some tractor trailer truck going by drops some oil from its pan. Some a rock, sizable rock. I mean, it really can. Especially California. Up here, the roads are a little bit better, but back east, man, I mean, there's all sorts of crap on the highway, floating around. And the one thing, again, when you're driving a car, there's things you can do, and you have this big metal shell around you. When you got a bike, man, you got
nothing through the air.
You can say, well, I got my leather suit on or this or that, and maybe it'll save you from getting a road rash if you're lucky enough to have an accident, God forbid, that's a low, but you hit something at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
50 miles an hour, you're hurting for certain. So that's the motorcycle story, Michael. And thank you for asking about it.
Well, you made it to 17 against all odds.
Yeah, against all odds, and even past to 30 and to here I am 66, and the moral of the story really was not to get people to feel bad for me because I was in a motorcycle accident. It was a thankful appreciation of. And listen, you and I both know, man, I have not led the perfect life. I'm no priest or anything like. Well, not many of them have led a perfect life too. But
thank God you're not a priest. I wouldn't have hung out with you if you had been a priest anyway.
Thank you. I probably wouldn't have hung out with you. I liked you for the first time I met you. But I hope that I did good. I hope I made people laugh. I hope I entertained people. That was what I knew how to do the best from when I was a little kid. And I was standing up my father made me stand up on a table at Mama Leone's restaurant and sing. That's what I knew how to do.
What was your song?
What did I sing? Di Centella Vui. It's Italian
aria.
English is Just Say I Love Her.
Okay.
But it's E voglio bene sai, di dirigendo veste questo, di dirigendo. My father used to sing it all the time, so I picked it up from him, like when I was 3 years old.
I thought of you this morning when I was going through some songs, playing the shuffle "Hurt" by Timmy Euro.
Oh, love that song.
Yeah, a big jukebox hit.
And, she just, and I mean, she just cranks that song.
She could sing it, baby. No doubt about it. Huge voice, a little person, huge voice.
I've heard other versions of it, and nothing even comes close.
And she used to sing in her parents' restaurant, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
I think they put her up on the table, and because she had such a unmistakable, big, huge voice for a little person.
Yeah, I'm going to crank it up.
If you're over 35, this is what's trapped inside your.
Well, they got to do something about the ads on YouTube. I mean, I guess you could buy it.
To think that you lied to me. I'm hurt way down deep inside of me.
I want to get to that.
You said your love was true.
Oh, what a voice.
Huge voice.
Although, the first line of that song almost sounds like Jackie Wilson.
Yes. The way she delivers it.
The way she delivers it, and even her voice. I mean, the whole tonality of her voice really sounds like Jackie Wilson.
Jackie Wilson could have been an operatic singer.
Oh, did you ever hear the song "Night" by Jackie Wilson?
Certainly I did. Huge.
Yeah. I mean, just you talk about taking a song and just touching you in the heart. I mean, I guess when anybody writes a song, I think, I mean, if I know the few I've written, you hope that it touches somebody in the heart,
Right.
And "Night," just from the first note to the last, to the outro. Jackie was
never afraid of the big note at the end.
No, Jackie was. Oh man, it was always one of my favorite singers. We used to go to the oldies shows at the Madison Square Garden and at the Academy of Music, which became the Palladium down on 14th Street. And Jackie would show, because Jackie was just in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So he would show up for those shows, be on the bill of a lot of those shows. And to see him live was, I mean, he brought the house down. I mean, every act people loved, but when Jackie Wilson would come out and he'd do that shuffle he did across the stage, and and just burst into some of the great oldies, and then really he had a hit. I mean, Lonely Teardrops was 67, right? 69,
somewhere
like
in there.
So it wasn't like he was totally out of everybody's thoughts. He was still, in. I mean, there was a whole bunch of other people, Cleft Tones and the Five Satins and guys like that. Dion and the Belmonts, the first time that Dion had sung with the Belmonts since 1961, I think.
Wow.
And I was at Madison Square Garden for that. When it's part of one of those Richard Nader shows. And it was, Jackie had such a beautiful instrument.
He had a gift.
Yeah, he didn't need a guitar.
No,
he didn't need it. He just needed his voice, man. Let me. I'll give you a little piece of Jackie. I love it when we talk about music.
Translator device banned in the US.
I just hate the commercials.
Ladies and gentlemen, singing Night, here is Jackie Wilson.
Here comes the night, another night to dream about you. Night, each lovely night, the only time I'm not without you. What's more,
Oh man. And you know, it's funny, I played this version in the record. They don't have a chorus behind him. He just comes out and belts out Night.
That's right.
To open the record.
Opens cold.
Yeah, he opens cold. And what a voice, man.
Yeah.
What a gift. You know?
He I really believe could have been a very successful black tenor singing the great arias of the time. Nessun Dorma, Una Fatica Lagrima, even the song that you sang on at your father's behest.
Yeah.
He could have done it. He had the range and he had the power and the sustain.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that he might have been, I mean, he's certainly in the top 5, but I often put it out on Facebook and some of the other things, you know, who's the best vocalist ever in rock and roll?
No, that's a hard one. I have some favorites. So Robin Zander of Cheap Trick, one of the best voices in modern music.
Yeah.
Burton Cummings of Guess Who had a great, huge, powerful voice, still does.
Yeah. And if you want to find out about that, get Burton Cummings' first solo album, where he does "You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet" as a slow jazz song.
Yeah.
You know, Norman Davis used to play. Norman Davis turned me on to Burton Cummings.
Big voice. Big voice.
Yeah. Amazing voice.
And he was a kid that came out of Saskatchewan or Calgary or something. And I don't know his perfect history. I know he was a Canadian born, and the Guess Who were Canadian bred and trained and did all their high school rock and roll there. But for any voice that you can put above against. Another one that sticks with me is Terry Kath, the lead guitarist for Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Remarkable voice and expressiveness, and singing in harmony with Peter Cetera. They were quite a pair.
Yeah, I was always a big Chicago fan. I love Chicago. I loved the horns.
They demanded your attention.
Yeah, I loved the horns. I loved, as a matter of fact, I love Chicago so much. When I was in high school, there was this band. Oh man, the name is escaping me now. That actually did Chicago songs. They did a lot of horn and a whole horn section. Mantis was their name, and I'm actually still in touch with a couple of the people in the band, because they were at that level. Just an unbelievable song, unbelievable voices, unbelievable vocals, and great. I mean, they were really practiced. They were really good. They were a bunch of high school kids too, but they were just above and beyond anything else that they booked for the dance.
You got to be rehearsed and tight to play that music.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Leonid and Friends?
No. When
you get a chance, we got a few minutes, go on YouTube and look at Leonid and Friends. They are a bunch of Russian musicians who cover Chicago.
Wow.
And do it in some ways better than Chicago.
Wow.
I mean, it's uncanny how good they are. And the vocals, the only
slight Russian accent.
Yeah, you can't entirely get rid of the Russian accent. So there's like they sing Dialogue Part 1 and 2, let's take.
Yeah, I love that song.
Which is one of my favorite. It probably is my favorite Chicago song. And you hear the vocalist. I think that the main vocalist might be a guy named Serge on this one. He goes, "Are you optimistic? about the way the things are going. You know, he's got the. It's great. He's got the vocals, but he can't completely get rid of the accent.
Dialogues Part 1 and 2 with Chicago. Take a listen to that today if you haven't heard it for a while, or if you've never heard it, you owe it to yourself. Do yourself some homework.
It is as relevant today as it was back in 1969. I guess.
How many times do you see a band with that level of organization and arrangement with two vocalists singing to each other back and forth? It just seems like a simple trick, but who does it?
You name me another song it's like that.
It just gives you another point of view in terms of delivering the song. These guys are doing it together. They're talking to each other. They're talking to you.
Right. The only place you see that, and I don't even think you see it there anymore as much as in country music. Because you had like, Johnny Cash and June Carter and Porter Wagoner and Dolly Parton and those bands.
I'll sing with Tammy Wynette if you don't mind.
Yeah. Was it Tammy Wynette and George Jones, right?
Porter Wagoner. Wasn't that it? No,
that was Porter Wagoner and Dolly Parton.
Yeah, you're right.
And George Jones and Tammy Wynette. But I might be wrong. I'm not so.
Well, I think before George, she sang with somebody else, but I can't remember who.
But you're right. And in Chicago, when they did Dialogue Parts 1 and 2, just took the page out of country music.
Yep, right.
And where they would sing to each other, and just made it political instead of a love story. And it is one of the most compelling records I've ever heard in my life. I will tell you that when you talk about when I sit down for the final interview and somebody asks me which piece of music influenced you, your political feelings the most in your life, it might be Dialogue Part 1 and 2. I'd have to put it right there with Take My Hand by Peter, Paul and Mary. And Where Have All the Flowers Gone? Those are the, once you understood those songs and then of course heard Dialogue, at the time it was released with the Vietnam War going on and everything.
Yeah.
It really called you to action. Those
also there was a positive end to it too, as the chant "We Can Make It Happen" that they start with and then turn it around in the beat, which is not that easy to do.
Right. It's just it's just one of those songs that I wish, I hope, and I pray that somewhere, somehow, somebody can write something like that, or somebody would redo the song because the lyrics are so timely for today.
I'm not sad, but I'm disappointed in the breadth and strength of the music business right now, and that with all the items going on in the world and all the strife, that somebody can't write about it and do it well, make commentary about it. You don't have to. You have to take a position. You have to take a point of view first. But the subject matter is there everywhere you look. I mean, how many shootings do you have to have every weekend to know that the country is in a very serious problem?
Yeah. And I'm not saying that writing songs is going to solve it.
It helps.
But it's going to call people to action. But, back then, Michael, we didn't care about political consequences. We didn't care. When we marched against Vietnam, we didn't care if the cops liked it. We didn't care if our parents liked it. We didn't care if we went to jail over it. We did not care. We saw something wrong with this country, something seriously wrong with this country. And we got people out in the streets and pissed off. Where are the million people marches? Where are all of these people getting out into the street? And you know what? You stop traffic on I-5 for a couple of days, and maybe people start to listen to you.
I know that one of the things in this vein that really bothers me right now is that the Los Angeles Times this morning said that the response so far to the California primary which is going to elect a governor and a number of politicians and set us on a course for the next couple of years. The early out turnout has been very, very weak. And so that means that California, whose 40 million voters we need to voice their opinion, are too busy doing something else, too busy with high gas prices. By the way, I paid $5.79. I think I'll probably never pay $5.79 for a while ago, because the political leadership in California is okay with every driver in the state of 40 million people being gouged by the oil companies. Gouged purposely. Yeah. They're taking money from us in an act of theft. It's premeditated, it's a crime, and we're being gouged for it. And the politicians cannot be bothered to look into it, investigate it, comment on it, or even acknowledge it. We are being gouged.
Well,
and
why can't?
Because they're in the pocket.
Thank you.
And I don't know which pocket. Is it the back pocket? Or is it the front pocket? Is it the key pocket?
I think little pocket in your Jeep? It's got to be a big pocket, because what's going on, listen, it's easy to point the finger at Biden or the federal government, the Democrats, and say, well, you took these oil leases and you stopped drilling in this place and that place. But there's wells all over the place that they have already contracted to drill and are not drilling.
They own the rights. They just haven't acted on it.
Right. And part of it, I think,
to keep the price up.
To keep the price up, to get Biden and the Democrats out of office, to get another Trump acolyte or a Republican in there, and try to attack the beautiful land of the United States of America. And when we are, well, listen, Michael, we're more worried about the price of gasoline than we are about kids getting shot in school. We're more worried about the if the vaccination is good or not than 1 million Americans dying from COVID. Money. We open up places. Why? Not because we want to make the people happy, because we want to make money.
We don't care if they're happy. Get in here and buy stuff. We don't care if you're happy. Something. And we don't care if there's a war. We're bored with the war. The war was very interesting. We all got to know where Kiev was, and we all know where the Donbass is. But now we'd like to move on to something else, because the war it's not over, and we thought it'd be over by now. So do we have another subject we want to discuss? How is Zelensky? Is he feeling fine? Has he did his speech? Good. Good luck with your war. Good luck with your war.
He can't be happy with what's going on in America right now, because it's totally taken attention away from Ukraine.
Well, I think it was the other way around. We saw that Ukraine was getting all the attention. He said, we can start a war right here. You want shooting within your borders? We'll show you how it's done.
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest with you, is the shooting that's going on in our schools and in our lives on our city streets worth much different than what's going on in Ukraine, except that in one sense it's being done with bigger bullets and sponsored by a country. In another sense, it's with smaller bullets and it's being sponsored by half of the country.
Plus, that's a war. It's one country fighting another one. Here in the United States, we just like to go to a bar, and after a couple drinks, we shoot up the people that we see in the bar, or at the school, or in the church, or at the town hall, or in the hospital, or in the grocery store. We lose our composure in the most embarrassing and inconvenient places. And the only way to settle these matters, the American style, is to pull out your AK-47 or your AR-15 and proceed to mow down people that either you have a grievance against or that you've never met.
Yeah, why can't you just, I mean, again, why can't you do it like they did it in the Old West, right? You have a 6-shooter, you got 6 shots, all right? Most you can do is kill 6 people before somebody kills you.
And the people can watch on the side of the streets, and that way they don't get hit. You shoot up and down the street, and the people can observe from in front of the general store, in front of Feller's garage.
In front of Feller's garage. It's amazing to me. I shouldn't laugh, but I was just watching this morning when I got up. I was watching some of the John Oliver put together a tape of some of the people with the ideas to stop school shootings without, it's not guns, it's this.
Yeah, it's not guns.
And so you went from, we need to put prayer back in the schools.
Good.
Well, let me tell you something. If you don't think prayer was in schools, you ought to go check. You should go into that room and listen to what those kids were doing before they were massacred. I'll bet you they all were praying. Put prayer back in the schools. That'll stop the gun violence. Friggin' idiot. Then you had another guy, detective from New York, who's become famous now, saying that he wants to put man traps in the schools. You put doors to close on people and you trap them like rats.
Well, thank God it's not the guns.
School already shooting.
Yeah, he's in the school, and your man trap's already closed. Now we can't get in.
Yeah, now we can't get in. He can't get out, so he massacres everybody. Bright idea from one of New York's finest.
Plus, it's always good to be in and have a man trap in every school classroom in America.
Okay. I know. Several women that would like to have a man trap.
I think if they want one, they can get one.
Just call Spanky Spankowitz there, detective, retired NYPD. He'll tell you how to set up a man trap.
They make them in Slovakia, where it's illegal in many countries, but Slovakia man traps are probably among the best in the world.
It's the Slovakia Man Trap Company, or Mantrap Industry Slovakia.
See, you can remember that. Call them, find them online. Get yourself a man trap.
Man Trap Industry Slovakia.
And if they send a Slovakian to install it, just watch them at all times, because they're known to get trapped in what else but their own man trap.
Well, that's the reason it hasn't gone quite like they thought it would in Slovakia.
This trap's got a man in it. Yeah, it comes with the thing.
You know, once they set it up, boom, the two guys that put it up are in there with the ladder and the toolbox, and you're trying to figure out how to get them out. You know, and you know they hired the I'm Dickens, he's Fenster Construction Company. That's an old TV reference for those of you who may not get that. Go look it up on the internet.
Look it up.
Fenster, he's Dickens.
They were from Slovakia too. They were both from
John
Slovakia.
Aston and Marty. Shirley Jones' husband. Marty Engels, right?
Marty Engels, sorry.
Yeah, Marty Engels.
He wasn't from Slovakia. I think he was from Poland.
Yeah, he might have been from Poland, but it was like one of those 1 season and 2 season shows that was just hilarious. But that's the kind of guy that's what Slovakia has now. They're trying to, you know, they're like everywhere else. I mean, you can't get somebody to work in Burger King. How the hell do you get somebody to come over and install man traps?
Get yourself a burger. You can be a Burger King or whatever you choose, and think about it as you watch them install the man trap, because you got to keep your eye on these guys at all times. They're talented in one way, but they're reckless in many other ways, and they end up in their own man traps.
And I'm going to tell you a little something that people don't know about Slovakians, and all right, listen, I'm going to say this. I may catch a lot of heat for it from the ASS, the American Slovakian Society, but I'm going to say it anyway. Slovakians, the national food in Slovakia is sardines. So if you have if they're in your house,
but they don't have a coastline,
and that's why it's the national food.
That's why they love it so much.
Yeah, it's a delicacy. Sardines, man. They get in there, they put it between 2 pieces of white bread, and as the Slovakians going through your pantry looking for sardines. They won't take your jewelry. Nope. They won't take your money. They won't take your life, but they will take your sardines. So
we have just 2 questions for you. Yes, where's the white bread, and where's the sardines?
In the pantry. I mean, where else?
Pantry. Where else would they be?
It's not something you keep in the bedroom. You know, the drawer.
And I have a question for you, Mr. Slovakia. Where is the man trap? Why, it's right here. And he's in it. That's it. It's done. We caught another man, another Slovakian, hoisted on his own petard.
Maybe we should hold a telethon to help the Spolpakians get out of the man traps.
Spolpakian, the industry's on its knees. We don't know what to do. The Spolpakian installers are trapped in man traps from coast to coast. Altoona, Pennsylvania, there's 5 Spolpakians trapped in one man trap. We got to get them out.
The solution. They have the solution to our gun problems, but they can't let us know because they're all stuck in man traps. And then the third light bulb on this thing was maybe the best, although I really like the man traps. But the other thing that's going on in Spolpaki is they're making bulletproof blankets, because this woman said, former FBI agent, might I add,
holy moly,
that instead of buying your kids toys and video games and things like that, consumer items, you should invest in bulletproof blankets, armor blankets for your classrooms, so that when a shooter is in school, you can just put an armored blanket. Except the only problem with that is I'm pretty sure, I may be wrong on this, but the bullets from an AR-15 or an AK-47 or something like that will probably go right through. I mean, they go through walls.
Have you noticed that all these solutions have to do with save yourself? Why don't they just say that? Save time. There's a shooter in the school. Well, those kids are going to have to save themselves, because we're not going to go. We're not going in. We're going to be late. We didn't get the call. We didn't get the 911. We didn't know. We got the wrong room number. The school guard couldn't tell us where they were. The door was locked. We couldn't get past it. So really the solution to all this gun violence is one guy with a gun attacks a school. It's up to the individual children. They're only in the 3rd and 4th grade. They must save themselves. We can't help them. That's the American way. You got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You've got to find the solution and implement it yourself. And that's why, as we see from the Texas story, by the way, the people in Texas won't talk to anybody now. Nobody from City Hall, nobody from the DA's office, nobody from the Sheriff's Department, nobody from the local police, nobody from the Texas Rangers, nobody from the FBI, nobody will talk to anyone. There is no information coming about the school shooting in Texas. And you know what that means?
That means that they're trying. I mean, listen, it was obvious we talked about this after the first day, that there was something stinking going on. I remember us talking that something smelled horrible about everything. And then when they sent the first guy out for that first press conference.
Yeah, we haven't seen him lately.
Yeah, no, we haven't. You won't see Bruno anymore. No.
Anymore.
Paulie, you won't see Paulie anymore. He's right now. He's patrolling. He's patrolling the border of Venezuela.
Yeah. No, you won't see Paul. Oh, Paulie's gone. Is as bad as all that? Yeah, he's gone.
Take the gun and leave the cannoli. Oh man. Well, Michael.
Yes, Vin.
I don't know how we fix
how we got. Well, pretty interesting theory about people who have to fix something. If you have a broken leg and you won't admit you have a broken leg, there's not much I can do for you. If you want to hobble around on that, we'll see how far you get. If you have a shooting problem nationwide across the country and you cannot even discuss the fact that it has to do with guns, then there's nothing I can do for you. You're going to have to hobble along on that broken leg until you come to your own conclusions. I think my leg's broken. Yeah, it's been broken for quite a while. I think we have a gun problem. So it's just dawning just now that we have these massive shootings every weekend. How many were there? 8, Chattanooga, Philadelphia, fill in the blank. Fresno,
Philadelphia, 5 people out there shooting into a crowd. The cops are right there and they can't stop them.
Can't find them, can't see them. There's so many people in the night district shooting.
The answer is not more people with guns. The answer is to get the guns under control.
And look how many
people
try to
figure out how to get rid of the ones that cause the most harm.
Look how many people go drinking and dancing with guns. Oh, let's see. I got a new coat. This looks so cool. Doesn't even show my my holster.
Yeah, we're armed to the teeth, and you know what? It is keeping us from being what we once were, the greatest country on the face of the earth. You want to talk about all of the things. How many bright minds, how many people who might have gone on to cure cancer, to become the next president, to play Major League Baseball at a level better than anybody else, were killed in that room that day? How many people in Sandy Hook, bright minds who would have went on to do spectacular things for this world, were killed that day at Sandy Hook? How many?
How many Republican senators give a hoot? And I use the word hoot in place of anything else you might want to use as a descriptive phrase.
Well, even
and they sleep fine. They put on a new blue suit and a clean white shirt. They sleep fine. They talk the talk. They have the talking points. Donald Trump's got them covered. And they preach murder, mayhem, and death as a means for some sort of salvation. This is the future of America: murder, shootings, and death. Murder, blood, and death. Murder, dead children, and death. How many can you handle? Well, the hospital's full, but quite frankly, most of them are dead. So we could take some more. We'll just put them in the freezer.
Horribly sad. It's a horribly sad time in our country. And we may have seen, I like to think that something will happen to bring us together, to, I don't know. I'm afraid of what that would be and how it would have a long-term effect. I don't know. It's crazy. The thing I know is that we need to not just sit on our hands. We need to stay mad. We need to do something. We need to hold the lawmakers to task. But you know what? That's us, Michael. That's, the only thing that's a little heartening is it says 72%, there was one poll from NBC News, 72% of Americans consider it to be a crisis and want something done now. Well, if 72% of Americans feel that way, 72% of Americans ought to get their asses out of the house, out to the street, somewhere to Washington, D.C., and let the elected people know that you are not going to stay in power.
You must vote. You must vote. That's the single most important part. And it looks like it's going to be a strange election.
I'm going to leave us with this, Michael, because it's such a song for the times.
Here we go, Chicago.
Yep. If you haven't heard this, go listen to some of this. This is
great Terry Kath on guitar.
Yeah, listen to that. Written by Robert Lamb.
Are you optimistic about the way that things are going? Oh, I never, ever think of it at all. Don't you ever worry when you see what's going down? Well, I'm trying to mind my business, that is no business at all. When it's time to function as a feeling human being, will your bachelor of arts help you get by?
Everything is not fine.
Everything is not fine. That's Terry Kath with the lower voice and Peter Cetera with the tenor, lead guitar and bass player for Chicago for their great formative years.
Yeah, right after they were known as the Chicago Transit Authority.
Yep, the CTA. They were a big deal.
CTA, and then the Transit Authority made him change the name.
We don't care if you're from Chicago. We don't care what, just you can't use the name, okay?
Can't use the name. Imagine how, if they would have kept Chicago Transit Authority, how famous the Chicago Transit, I mean, what was the bad of that?
Well, as it turned out, Chicago was shorter, so.
Yeah, it probably worked better.
And I think they call them CTA around Chicago, but nationally that never caught on.
Yeah, CTA. All right, man.
All right, Vin.
Good
Shall we meet on a wacky Wednesday?
Let's meet on a wacky Wednesday and
At 10:10.
At 10:10, if the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. Michael, peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine. See you, Vin.
All right, Mikey, see you. And thank you all for listening.